Hey, what's up? This is my first stream, so I'm just going about it. Uh, like, I'm actually researching for my first video essay, and like I've decided that I'm gonna make it about the Robots Empire and the Foundation series by Isaac Asimov. So I've been doing a little bit of research. There are 15 total novels in the series, and Asimov started in I think 1952, and then by the end of it, he connected all of his series, all of his books. So yeah, I'm trying to make a short video essay on this subject. So I'm doing a little bit of research, so I thought maybe I'll do it live. This is my first. I have zero subscriber, no nothing. I'm just going about it. I'm gonna be watching a few videos, taking down notes, that kind of stuff. So I've already noted down a few things. I've noted down little summaries of the stories because I've read and listened to the audiobooks of all 15 of the books. So let's go from the starting. The first book is iRobot, or The Complete Robot. The first book begins with these are hilarious short stories, uh, very interesting short stories that begins with basic models and they slowly develop in stories around them. Really interesting. The one that comes to my mind is uh, the one where he says Cutie has no masters but the master, uh, and Cutie is his prophet. A very interesting story. So Isaac Asimov's iRobot was also my introduction to science fiction. Like I believe all of these series are like a must read for young adults. So robot short stories, iRobot, they are well explained in this video that I have here in my history. I have to, like, I'm scratching my mind. I have to remember those stories, but they begin with basic models and they evolve. Very nice. And other novels in the robot series are Caves of Steel, The Naked Sun, and Robots of Dawn. The Caves of Steel takes place on Earth, I think, and in a very, very far distant future. And on Earth, robots do like simple tasks and aren't trusted by Earth people. And in this future, there is space has been like colonized, and the colonizers are called spacers, who were originally Earth people. They went out and colonized the stars. So in the caves of steel, there's a difference between the Earth people and the space people, the spacers. Spacers are much more advanced than the Earth people, and much more dependent on robots. In Caves of Steel, spacers have a port on Earth, and there is a murder. So these are basically murder mysteries that integrate like the relationship of human beings and robots. And in this Caves of Steel, which is the second book, which comes after iRobot or the Complete Robot, uh, is a murder mystery with integrated with robot and human interaction. So in this, so I'm just going through this. I'm trying to like research and note down some ideas for a video essay that I want to make on the complete robots, Empire, and Foundation series. It's quite interesting because of the law of robotics, we have AI. AI is like next frontier right now. We're hearing about AI a lot, and it's there. We're using language models and whatnot. So yeah, the books of the robot series, Caves of Steel, The Complete Robot, Caves of Steel, Naked Sun, Robots of Dawn, Robots and Empires, uh, are the books that I want to take notes on. Very interesting thing is most of the books are, if you want to listen to them, most of them are also available on YouTube. So you can listen to them, and some of them are in pretty good quality. As I said, The Caves of Steel is a murder mystery. Elijah Bailey is a police officer who is called to investigate a murder, and he's partnered with the robot Daniel. And in essence, this is a murder mystery, and using this device, Asimov explores the difference between Earth people and spacers. The second book is, third book actually, is after Complete Robot, The Caves of Steel, is Naked Sun, where our protagonist, Mr. Elijah Bailey, he travels to outer space. Solaris, this spacer world, is pretty different from Earth world. So in this world, there are like 10,000 robots per person, and Elijah is again called to investigate a murder. So the world of Solaris is completely opposite of the Earth world. Um, they don't have direct contact with human beings. They view people through viewfinders, and the idea of being in a room with another person is unbearable for the people of Solaris. So I've noted down till here. I've got to note down the Robots of Dawn, Robots and Empire. And after the robot, the four books of the robot series, five books actually, Robots and Empires is the next part of the series, next part of the connection, which is the Empire series. And this series contains three books: Stars Like Dust, The Current of Space, Pebble in the Sky. Uh, Stardust Like Dust, I think it's an Empire kind of feudal space, very far in the future, feudal space thing, space empire thing happening, and it's about a college kid who is targeted for assassination because his father is a very powerful politician. The story is 1,000 years in the future, humanity has left Earth and moved on. Earth has become like a battleground for nuclear war. Uh, uh, the rest of humanity that is on Earth is clustered and focused on population centers. So, because the Earth is like a battleground of nuclear war, there are Geiger counters and radiation detector bands that are very common. So in this, stars like does the hero Brian he's from another planet and he's on Earth attending college. And Brian's father is a rancher on another planet, and he's aristocrat, like big title, like a powerful title in the feudal system. And his father has been assassinated. Byron's father, so Byron's father is a political leader and is plotting against the tyranny, the the big rulers of the galaxy. And Byron's father is arrested and executed by the tyranny. And Byron finds out and swears vengeance. So, and they also try to assassinate Byron. And Byron, because he swears vengeance, he wants to escape and do something about it. So, this. That is the first book of the Empire series. So, what I'm going to be doing here on this live is I'm going to be taking notes because I want to complete my research for this video essay, which is going to be my first video on my YouTube channel. So I'm going to be watching some of the reviews of these books. I'll start with and one of the most important, the most popular of the series is the Foundation book. And I think the Foundation was the first major book published by Isaac Asimov in 1951. Foundation is a classic, actually. It's the most popular book there is in science fiction. So, Foundation is basically about let's see how Isaac Asimov got to the Foundation. So Asimov's ferocious reading led him to Edward Gibbon's The Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire, the 6-volume history of Rome, which is more than a history, it's a treatise on the development of civilization, which helps to define the political system we now call liberalism. It's very interesting. Edward Gibbon's his negative view of the Middle Ages and emphasis on reason and civil virtue influenced the enlightened thinker who laid the groundwork for liberal thought. So Isaac Asimov's polymath imagination spins a story from Edward Gibbon's history. What if the declining empire was not in the past but in the future, a galactic empire, an empire that can illustrate why old imperial civilizations collapse and new rising empires to show how science and reason can build a better civilization. So this is kind of the thing of the Foundation series, the Foundation. Very interesting book, psychohistory. Harry Sheldon, yes. Harry Sheldon is one of the protagonists. Is the protagonist. Then he comes up with psychohistory. It's like a mathematics and study of societies to predict the future. And he predicts that there's going to be 10,000 years of chaos in the future when the empire collapses. And he comes up with the Foundation, which is going to be made up of scientists and thinkers, and he's trying to reduce the suffering and reduce the years of chaos so that there is less suffering in the galactic empires. So yeah, I'm going to be taking notes. Let's go. The first video I'm going to watch is this one.
Readers to science fiction. My own feeling is that science fiction is the relevant literary form for today. Of all the different types of fiction, science fiction is the only one which takes as its basic assumption that societies are going to change.
I think what was your very first novel, you talked about the awful powers of darkness. Is the whole question of magic and fantasy and mystery and myth what brings people to it as well?
Some people have that theory, but I don't.
I see.
Because there is real fantasy now. There are, for instance, the Lord of the Rings, that trilogy. There is Tolkien one. Watership Down right now is an excellent fantasy by a fellow called Adams. People who want that can still find it undiluted. No, I think science fiction refers to different societies which are connected to ours through scientific and technological change. There is always that feeling that we are heading right now rapidly into changing societies. People who are young people today know that when they're middle-aged, life will be nothing like what it is now. And science fiction gives them an opportunity to try on different societies. It's the only thing that's relevant. Anything which deals with the world of today is going to have no meaning to young people of today when, say, 30 years from now.
Pretty awesome. So it's pretty interesting. I like the first things.
What is it that draws readers to science fiction?
My own feeling is that science fiction is the relevant literary form for today. Of all the different types of fiction, science fiction is the only one which takes as its basic assumption that societies are going to change, and which sets its stories against a fundamentally different society. It's something with great differences in it, whether it's time travel, whether it's overcrowdedness, whether it's space travel, whatever. It's not the present society. And
there was a phrase you used, and I think what was your first...
time travel, space travel, overcrowdedness. Pretty interesting stuff. I think I'm gonna start my video essay with Isaac Asimov's this.
What is it that draws readers to science fiction?
My own feeling is that science fiction is the relevant literary form for today. Of all the different types of fiction, science fiction is the only one which takes as its basic assumption that societies are going to change, and which sets its stories against a fundamentally different society. It's something with great differences in it, whether it's time travel, whether it's overcrowdedness, whether it's space travel, whatever. It's not the present society. And
there was a phrase you used, and I think what was your very first novel, you talked about the awful powers of darkness. Is the whole question of magic and fantasy and mystery and myth what?
Asimov also has a very interesting, I think, story on time travel. I've forgotten the name of that. Let's do a Google search. The End of Eternity. The End of Eternity is a 1955 science fiction novel. Also has like these people who are like kind of a organization that an organization that tries to do good through time travel. They're like the Men in Black of time travel. A time-changing organization called Eternity, known as Eternal, seek to ensure that the conditions that led to Eternity's founding occurs as history says that they occurred. At the end of the novel, does this have spoilers? At the end of the novel, the protagonist Andrew Harlan is placed in a situation in which he must decide whether to allow the circle to close an eternity to be founded, or to allow the opposite to happen and prevent eternity from having a very interesting book though. This is not going to be part of my video essay, so I'm not even sure that I'm going to do a video essay on uh, the robots empire and foundation, and how Asimov connected all of these books at the end for his fans. So, so I've, to refresh my mind, because uh, uh, I went through the robot series, this book review with minor spoilers, and I've taken notes. I've gone through this, and I've gone through the foundation. Uh, so what I think is I have to the Caves of Steel, Naked Sun. I have to take notes on the Naked Sun, which I have. The Robots of Dawn. Well, I think this is going to be pretty boring, because I'll be taking notes most of the time, and it's going to be really hard to compose the script of this video essay, because I have no experience. I don't know how to start, and and yeah, and and I'm not going to use AI. AI sucks, man. It just devalues the content of whatever you're doing. It doesn't give, like, it cuts corners and gives you information in that way, so it's not the complete thing. Robots of Dawn book review, or I just type in and let's see what's there. uh I like his book reviews. He's a very entertaining person, Mr. Brian Lee Dofree.
Domo arigato, Mr. Roboto. Sticks shirt. Welcome
Yo,
back to the
is
TV
Six
program. I
band?
am Brian Lee Durfee, author of The Forgetting Moon and The Blackest Heart, both books published by Simon & Schuster's Saga Press. Today we are going to be reviewing Isaac Asimov's Robots of Dawn, or The Robots of Dawn. I think there's a the right there. Anyway, that's what we're doing. This book is book number 3 or 4 in his robot series, which we've got right here. I've got all of them. Now, if you count iRobot,
Yes, for
that
them.
would make this book 4. It falls right there because there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 books in the series, plus 2 short story anthologies that
Robot
follow.
trains and robot visions.
And that is the entirety of the Isaac Asimov robot universe. I would suggest start with iRobot, learn the rules of robotics. It's not the rules of robotics. The rules of robots. The rules that the robots have
three
to follow.
robots of robots.
Caves of Steel is book number 2. I've done a review of all of these. Naked Sun is book number 3. I've done reviews of all 3 of those books. Now we're to book number 4, Robots of Dawn. Let's talk about the cover. This is the Leahy Bailey and R. Danielle Olivet series of robot novels. This has the wonderful Michael Whalen cover.
Wait a second. Leahy Bailey or Elijah Bailey? Robots of Dawn is a whodunit science fiction. It's a detective thingy. Uh, by American writer Isaac Asimov, first published in 1983. It's the third novel in Asimov's robot series. Detective. The new Leahy Bailey. Detective Elijah Bailey of Earth is training with his son and others to overcome socially integrated agoraphobia. Yeah, I think it's they have agoraphobia. They cannot step out, unlike us people of today, man. Like we we have claustrophobia. Like if we're stuck in small places, like we like to see the outside. All right. Um, Detective Elijah Bailey of Earth is training with his son and others to overcome their socially ingrained agoraphobia when he is told that the spacer world of Aurora has requested him to investigate a crime, the destruction of the mind of R. Yander Palin, a humaniform robot identical to R. Daniel Olval with a mental block. Ah, I remember now. It's coming to my mind. Pretty interesting work, yeah. The robot's inventor, Han Fastel, has admitted that he is the only person with the skill to have done this, but denies having done so. Fastolife is also a prominent member of the Auroran political faction that favors Earth, therefore is politically expended that he be exonerated and en route to Aurora. Bailey again is partnered with R. Daniel Olval and is introduced to R. Griscard Reventlov, a robot of an earlier model. So this is very interesting because in the robot series, in this book in particular, when I think robots, like when they have to do something which defies three laws of robotic, they have a kind of a mental breakdown. So a very interesting thing. This is very interesting to read, and of course, Isaac Asimov is a master of masters, and the way that he writes is going to be truly amazing. So, yes, so I remember, man, and it's that's such an interesting thing that uh, if they defy the three laws of robotics in even slightly, they have like mental breakdowns, like their minds, the positronic brain. Is it called the positronic brain? Yes. A positronic brain is a fictional technological device originally conceived by science fiction writer Isaac Asimov. So they have this mental breakdown, like the positronic brain can has like a breakdown, which is very interesting, which is very human-like and uh, kind of like a dilemma of dilemmas. This is a very interesting movie on the positronic brain as well, the bicentennial man. I hope I'm pronouncing all of this right. Bicentennial man. Let's watch a scene of this movie. Okie dokie, that's these are organs. Excuse me for this. So, anyways, bicentennial man is not part of what I need to. I really need to write down a lot of stuff and then figure out how to arrange a video essay. So on Aurora, he interviews Gladia Delmare, Arj Gladia, also important person in the series, Arjander's last owner, and discovers that Gladia had a sexual relationship with Jander to the point of considering him husband in an emotional sense. Bailey later interviews Fastolife Fastolife's estranged daughter, Valencia Fastolife, alias Valencia Aliena, who claims that her father would do anything necessary to advance psychohistory. Ah, that is pretty interesting. Including the incapacitation of Xander and Gladia's heartbreak. Following that, Bailey interviews Sand criminals. So this is a whodunit, and this is about this is a mental block. Yes, that investigate a crime of the destruction of the mind of R. Yander Panel, a humaniform robot identity. So this one's a whodunit about a robot, like a detective case of a robot who's got a mental block. I mean, like, I think he's shut down. Yes, let's watch this.
Just absolutely fabulous. If I was to do a top 100 book covers of all time, this would most definitely fall on there. You know, the cover for iRobot, that was pretty cool. The cover for Caves of Steel was another great Michael Whalen painting. The cover for The Naked Sun was another awesome Michael Whalen painting. And book number 5, Robots and Empire, we've got another great Michael Whalen painting. In fact, we've got great Michael Whalen paintings on every single one of these books. So, one of the reasons to collect the series is that, just the Michael Whalen stuff. However, you're going to have to go to eBay to find the Michael Whalen versions because they're no longer in print. They just redid the covers, you know, and made them worse. So, The Robots of Dawn. Now, if you followed my review of the first books in the series, these were all written in the 1950s. It's a long time ago. This one, and then he stopped writing robot books for 30 years. This came out in 1983, 30 years after the original 3 books. So let's keep that in mind throughout the review. So, because this book is, these were written in a very kind of 1950s pulp mystery style. If you know, like the Raymond Chandler, they kind of gave you the Raymond Chandler feel, that kind of thing. This is written a little bit less pulp in style. It's less pulpy in style. It's a little more laid back in tone. It's a little bit more easy of a read than these 3 here. However, these 3 here were in dynamite. Okay, let's get into the story. Outside, okay, so we've got our main character, Bailey, who is a New York City detective. He's had 2 big cases that he solved, murder cases, and we found out about those in these books. Now, even though these were written in the 1950s...
I'm going to pause and take notes as well, because, like, that's the main idea of this live stream. Elijah Bailey, like, is obviously a New York plainclothes detective, and he has already solved 2 really big murder mysteries on Earth and on a spacer world called Solaris.
And there was a 30-year gap between in in the storyline, there's not a 30-year gap between what happens in these books and what happens in this book. It's actually just like a year or two gap. And he is still known, Bailey is still kind of like a folk hero, because he solved these really sort of newsworthy murders throughout the galaxy with the help of his robot friend, Daniel Olivet. And so there's a lot of kind of jealousy going around and through the police department involving this. You know, he's kind of the famous detective, and a lot of people are sort of gunning for and wanting to see him fail. Anyway, he gets an assignment, another kind of high-profile assignment, to go to the planet Aurora and find out who killed a robot. There's been a roboticide on the planet Aurora.
A robot size. And I kind of had this. I was thinking that I don't need to take really long notes on this, because the video essay that I'm thinking that I'll make on the Robot Empire and Foundation is probably going to be 15 minutes, and I already have like each book, the notes that I'm taking, because my memory is not fresh of the reading the books, and it's going to be really cumbersome if I go and read and listen to the audiobooks, read and or listen to the audiobooks of these books. Like, there are 15 books, but basically you just need like the main pointers and stuff.
And he has to go figure this out with his robot detective companion, Daniel Olivet. And if you want to, you really need to read all these books previous to this one if you really want to understand sort of the relationship this man has with the robot, because they're both detectives, the robot detective and him. If you want to see how that kind of plays out, go ahead and read these before you read this, because it'll just be a better experience for you.
Yeah, and one more thing, like, man, I don't even know these are like the Indian print, and the ones that are pretty budget friendly, these have like these kind of covers. They're pretty whack compared to those uh, really well illustrated ones.
Now, as I sort of complained about in my review yesterday of the Tom Clancy novel Sum of All Fears, writers oftentimes describe distances in these and the size of things and the distance between places in metric terms, like kilometers and all of this stuff. And I'm sorry, but I was not raised. I don't know what that stuff means. When I drive through Europe, I notice all of the speed limit signs are in this. The numbers don't match what makes sense to me, is what I'm saying. So I think it's just sort of pretentious. I can't see shit with these goggles on.
Yeah.
I think it's pretentious that authors, if you're an author and you're using the metric system in your novels, especially if you're an American author.
Yeah, because Asimov, like, I think from what I know, Asimov moved from Russia to the United States like when he was 4 years old, somewhat around that age. So I don't even know where in Russia do they use kilometers and stuff. Gotta check, man. In Russian, of course. Do they use kilometers in Russia or miles? But that doesn't. He's I no uses kilometers, but that doesn't really matter because like who learns anything about the metric system when they're 4 years old?
I just think it's pretentious. Just describe to me everything in inches, feet, yards, miles, pounds, I don't understand what kilometers are, or kilometers, or even if it's the same fucking word. Please, folks, give me some help. I'm a stupid, and I don't get it.
According to India Today, an analysis of 17,000
So one reason could be I am not gonna comment on this. Like I was thinking, one reason could be that
Second measurement rant of the day, of the week, over. I'll never mention it again, hopefully. Anyway, so he gets sent to Aurora. I'm going to read, I wasted enough time. Let's just read the back jacket copy because it's going to give a way better description of what's going on in this book than I can. So, a puzzling case of roboticide takes New York detective Elijah Bailey from Earth to the planet Aurora, where humans and robots have, until now, always coexisted in perfect harmony. Only the gifted roboticist Han Fastolf had the means, the motive, and even the opportunity to commit the crime. But Bailey must prove that man innocent. For the murder of Jander Parnell, the robot, is closely tied to a power struggle that will decide who will be the next interstellar pioneers in the universe. Armed only with his own instincts, his sometimes quirky logic, and the immutable 3 laws of robotics, Bailey sets out to solve the case. But can anything prepare a simple Earthman for the psychological complexities of a world where a beautiful woman can easily have fallen in love with an all-too-human robot? Yeah, so it's a great little mystery. That's what I love about the Robot series a little bit more than Isaac Asimov's Foundation series, where the Foundation series is just sort of like thematically huge in scientific ideas. The Robot series really boils it down to just simple murder mysteries that take place in the future and out in outer space and amongst a space opera sort of setting with a lot of robots. Not only that, but just because I say that, though, doesn't mean that this science fiction world building in this series isn't as vast and expansive as the Foundation series, because it is. I'm just saying, I think he's woven or weaved just a great tapestry with these robot books of not only superb mystery writing, but also superb science fiction, galaxy-spanning world building that is just top-notch. And if you want to just treat yourself to something that's just pretty easy to read, but with a great storyline, get these robot novels. And you'll love them. I love them. I mean, this book is a 9.5 out of 10. Has everything a science fiction nerd could want. And it's just great. And let's see, I've got one more note here. I'm going to read it to see if it's important. Let's see. Yeah, okay. I forgot. They introduced a new robot in here called Giscard, and he's got glowing red eyes. I thought I'd mention that.
So yeah, man. In these robot books, especially the second, third, and fourth, he uses murder mystery as a device to also like write science fiction about human robots and their relationship interactions. And this one is particularly really good because of the mental block thing. A robot with a mental block is quite a fascinating thing to think about. Also, the robot series, and especially the first one, iRobot, or the complete robot, uh, it discusses the 3 laws of robotics, uh, Asimov's three laws of robotics first appear, which had a large influence on later science fiction and an impact and thought on ethics of artificial intelligence as well. So we're in the age of artificial intelligence, and for Asimov to have written the three laws of robotics in 1951, around that time period, is pretty amazing, pretty rad. He's like totally in the future. Yes, iRobot is in 1950. So yeah, and the three laws of robotics are that yep, a robot may not injure a human being or through inaction allow a human being to come to harm. Second, a robot must obey the orders given it by human beings except where such orders would conflict with the first law. A robot must protect its own existence as long as such protection does not conflict with the first or second law. Pretty amazing. And there's a lot about it. I think robotics, he coined the term robotics as well. So I'm not sure about it. Have to search everything. Did Isaac Asimov? Whoa. And I bet that's wrong. Yeah, coined the term robotics. Isaac Asimov coined the term robotics without suspecting that it might be or might be an original word at the time. So pretty rad stuff, man. Pretty cool stuff. I think this one's gonna be part of the video essay that I think I might make. Three laws of robotics, because it also, like, I can talk a little bit about the present where artificial intelligence is kind of here and it's mainstream now. And I don't even know how to talk about artificial intelligence. So we have AI stuff right here on the browser. It's basically machine learning and all of that stuff. And the most familiar with artificial intelligence, like how, like we are most familiar with language models and yep, machine learning, and they collect all like tons of data throughout the internet to make language models. I'm not going to go into the ethics of that, but yeah, that is here and that is widely used. So yes, so the caves of iRobot, com- iRobot or the complete robot, Caves of Steel, Naked Sun, Robots of Dawn is here. All of three murder mystery. The fifth book is going to be Robots and Empire, which is also written in the 80s, 1985, much after mm, many of all of the Empire books and some of Foundation books. Robots and Empire. One is Robots of Dawn. I think the video essay is going to be like I I'm going to talk about how I like the first time I read Isaac Asimov. The first book that I read was The Foundation in 2019 or 18, and I just got like hooked on his books, man, because it's so brilliant. And it was my introduction to science fiction as well. I just read the Dune and mainstream science fiction stuff on television. So yup, uh, the Robots of Dawn. So yeah, so I've just read the Dune then before mm, Foundation by Asimov, and then I got hooked on it, and I wanted to read everything by Asimov, and I read all of the robots, and I got to know early on while I was reading the Foundation that Asimov later, as Asimov connected all of his books like into one big thing in one universe. Um, the 15 books from the Robot series, Empire series, and then the Foundation series. So, yup, man, Asimov kind of rules. Yes, Robots and Empire by Asimov. I've already. I think I've just saved it, and it's because I don't remember what watching this video. I've watched it here. Okie dokie.
The third book is The Robots of Dawn, which actually predominantly takes place on Aurora, the most powerful, spending more and more time outdoors, trying to grow accustomed to it, as he feels the future of Earth is to colonize planets. Earth people are also in agreement on this. And there is a spacer, a powerful, politically powerful spacer, Hastoff, I think his name is, who is in support of Earth actually exploring the stars, whereas the majority of the spacers want the worlds for themselves and for Earth to stay where they are. So Elijah is sent once again.
These ones have minor spoilers as well. So already note down the important stuff for Robots of Dawn. I'm just gonna skip this. It's pretty cool. So Elijah Bailey in Robots of Dawn is exploring how to get over their agoraphobia, because on Earth, as is mentioned in the Caves of Steel, that people live in like kind of caves of steel, like inside in caves, and they have severe agoraphobia, and they cannot stand the outside space. They cannot stand big spaces, open outside things, like to be under the sky, which is completely opposite from how we actually live in today's world. It's like if we're confined to small spaces, we have claustrophobia.
Called Robots and Foundation, I think, which is the bridging book between Asimov's 3 series. I read this one, and this one I liked the least. Yeah. In this one, whilst we had Daniil and Giscard, we also had Gladia, who sometimes annoys me because she comes across as a petulant, spoilt child who basically is just a fluffhead. Though the author tried to make her a little bit more substantive in this book, I think. We also don't get to see Elijah Bailey because this book takes place, I think, over 100 or so years later. We do get to explore a new world, but I'm not going to say anything about it as it might be a spoiler. And we also come back to Earth and see the Caves of Steel. This one had a lot of dialogue between Daniil and Giscard, the 2 robots, which at times really bogged down the book and I felt weren't entirely necessary. Whilst there are humans in this, such as I think DG and Gladia, we don't spend as much time with them as we do with the robots. And while some of their discussions were interesting, others I felt weren't. Now, I have not read Asimov's other series. Perhaps if I read those, I will find some connection to issues that are raised in this book. But I just found this one overlong and just not as interesting. Though I did like the end. Yeah. Perhaps
This book's pretty interesting in that way. The ending, mm, I'm not gonna go into it. Robots and Empire. I think the way that ma'am, nerdy, this person tells, reviews the book has kind of like spoilers in them. Robots and Empire. It's a science fiction novel by American author Isaac Asimov. Already know that these come after this. Asimov's consolidation of his three major series of science fiction breaks the novel into a single future history. His robot series, his Galactic Empire, and his Foundation series, yes. And the storyline has, it kind of connects stuff because in this novel, Asimov depicts the transition from his earlier Milky Way galaxy, inhabited by both human beings and positronic robots, to his galactic empire. The galaxy of his earlier trilogy of robot novels is dominated and blended by human robotic societies of 50 spacer planets dispersed through the near Earth part of the galaxy, while the Earth is much more populous than all of the spacer planets combined. Its people are looked down upon and treated almost as subhuman by the spacers. For a long time, the spacers have forbidden immigration of people from Earth, but Asimov's later galactic empire is populated by many quadrillions of human beings on hundreds and thousands of habitable planets and by very few robots, such as our, yes, this very interesting thing as well in this book, such as R. Daniel Oliver. Even the technology to maintain and upgrade robot exists only a few out of the way planet. Therefore, this novel attempts describe how his earlier robot series Ultimate connects to his galactic empire. Yes, because in the Empire series and the Foundation series, there aren't like when the scientists of the Foundation or in the empires when events are happening like in the stars like dust, the currents of space, the pebble of sky. There aren't any robots. In fact, they have kind of human beings have like kind of uh, it's a it's an they formed a principle to be without robots, and yes, so the Earthman Elijah Bailey, the detective hero of the previous robot books, have died nearly 2 centuries earlier. So this is, yeah, mistakes. During these 2 centuries, Earth people have overcome their agoraphobia. Yes, in this book. So, should I give spoilers? A little bit. So Elijah Bailey finally wants to settle in the space worlds and have a planet like so. He has and his son as well. And they've overcome their agoraphobia and they want to move into space as well. So during these 2 centuries, Earth people have so after Elijah Bailey, the Earth people as well, like they follow him. During these 2 centuries, Earth people have overcome their agoraphobia and resumed space colonizations using faster than light drives to reach faster than light drives to reach distant planets beyond the earlier spacer worlds, their inhabitants calling themselves settlers rather than spacers, revere Earth as their mother world. Bailey's memory remained in the mind of his former lover Gladia, though Bailey had a wife on planet Earth as well. Uh, his former lover Gladia, a long-lived spacer who uncharacteristically relocated from the spacer world of Solaris to Aurora, Gladia's hometown and the 50th establishment of the spacer planets. Solaria has become empty of all human inhabitants, although millions of robot servants remain. A seventh generation descendant of Bailey, Daniel Discard Bailey gains Gladia's help in visiting Solaria to investigate the destruction of several landing there and to capture the presumably unsupervised robots. Gladia is accompanied by the positronic robots R. Daniel Olivol and the robot which was introduced in Robots of Dawn, R. Giscard Revenflov, both the former properties of their creator, Dr. Han Fastalife, who I hope I'm pronouncing this right. Fastolife. Fastolife. Let's pronounce him as this. Fastolife. Who bequeathed them to Gladia in his will. Argiscard has secret telepathic powers of which only R. Daniel knows. At this time, Daniel and Giscard are engaged in a struggle of wits with Fastoff's rival, the roboticists Kendall Armadio and Melissa Elena. Yes, this is 2 centuries after Elijah Bailey, and so all of this uh, is research for a, an idea for a video essay that I'm thinking that I will make. I will make an video essay on Asimov's complete series, Robot, Empire, and Foundation, and just how it's one of the most brilliant science fiction series for young adults to read, and even people like me, because I got introduced to the series in 2019, so I'm pretty old. Like, so for like late 20s, it's 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 these books of the series are fantastic for getting introduced to science fiction reading. They're easy to read, and the stories, from hilarious to pretty memorable, these are pretty cool. Pretty cool. Like in the Foundation series, uh, subject of psychohistory and how, uh, dude, I forgot the practice. So how the protagonist puts up a plan to reduce the thousands of years of chaos to lesser years and sets a colony of scientists like who will live in the Foundation world, and their stuff. And pretty amazing things happen later on in the books in the Foundation series as well. And I think in the second Foundation or Foundation, where which we are introduced to uh, m- mutated people or anomaly, like the mule is a pretty interesting character. And I guess there is a song by mule or inspired by this as well. Die Straight? Nah, cannot be. It's rock and roll. Yeah, Deep Purple, dude. So yeah, and this Asimov is really inspirational. He's master of master. He's a polymath. He has so many books, so his writing he's is the most brilliant there is.
Perhaps though others didn't, but I found the end kind of fitting. And that's all I'm going to say. Okay, so in conclusion about this robot series, I really loved Asimov's vision of our possible future. Though I don't think I want to live on any of those worlds, no. Perhaps a combination, but certainly not one as they existed in these books. I did find some of the philosophical questions he raised, such as with dependence on robots, do we become somehow less human, require less, therefore strive less? Some of these arguments I found very compelling and actually convincing. I think if we have everything laid out for us or made too easy, are we going to be inclined to strive, to improve? Why would we? I did enjoy that aspect of the book, some of these philosophical or ethical questions. And I really loved the character of Daniel. He was just, yeah, definitely my favorite. Elijah actually came second. And I thought his characterizations were good. I just didn't like the character of Gladia. I thought she was a little too airheaded for my taste. And even though there is another female character in one of the books who is quite intelligent, she sometimes came across as very illogical as well, which bothered me. I don't know if that is a sign of the times because some of these books were written, I think, in the 50s or later. Regardless, I found the female characterizations a little lacking in depth, and I think they could have been explored a bit more. The robots were better described, I felt anyway. I think anyone who finds robots as fascinating as I do, whether they are sentient beings capable of more than their programming, for example, how we would interact with them, I think you would really enjoy these books. I thoroughly recommend them, though I won't deny they are not equally as good. No. As for a score for this series, I'm not going to score the individual books, but the series as a whole, which is the
Right. So I've done quite a lot. Uh, Now the books that I need to refresh my mind on are the Pebble in the Sky. Have I? Mm, okay. Uh, so yes, the books in the Empire series, The Currents of Space, The Stars Like Dust, and Pebble in the Sky. I've I spoke about the Stars Like Dust early on. It's about a big empire. It's the story of a college kid who is targeted for assassination because of his father's political power. It's 1,000 years in the future. Humanity has left Earth, and Earth has become a battleground of a nuclear war. So yes, and the father is an aristocrat, title in a feudal system, and he is plotting against Tyranny, who rule the galaxy. And the Tyranny have his the protagonist's father arrested and executed, and the protagonist finds out and swears vengeance. So that is the second book in this Empire series, The Star Like Dust. in the correct reading order. It was actually written before the Currents of Space, but Currents of Space is before the Stars Like Dust in the reading order. The Currents of Space. It's a short review.
Hey, it's Kyle here, and today I'll be reviewing The Currents of Space by Isaac Asimov. This is a book in his Galactic Empire series.
I'm gonna take a little break from the webcam. It's just for this 4 minutes.
Which is very loosely a series. In reality, it's 3 standalone books that are basically chronicling events in the galaxy in the lead up to the planet Trantor forming the first galactic empire. If you've ever read the Foundation series by Isaac Asimov, which is probably the books he's the best known for, that is the empire that exists at the beginning of the Foundation series. So these books, like I said, are kind of connected to the Foundation series, but they're so far in the past that there's no connection with the characters. And the books in this series, these 3 books, are, like I said, again, very loosely connected to each other. For example, in the first 2 books, there are no characters that transition between the 2 books. They're set massively apart in regard to the timeline. It's just more like, here's critical points in the path on the journey of Trantor being able to form a galactic empire. So basically kind of like some interesting galactic events set in the same galaxy that the Foundation series takes part in. But you don't really have to have any knowledge of the Foundation series to enjoy this book. I would say, even though this is the second book, you could read this book, not read the first book, and you have no idea it's actually connected to the series. It very much is set up as a standalone book. So if you're a fan of the Foundation series, I think this is a book you'll maybe want to check out.
Hey K1 DRVB, thank you for subscribing. This is a pretty shabby live stream. This is my first live stream. I haven't done any live stream or any video before, so I just jumped straight into it. I was thinking of making a video for my YouTube channel, a video essay on the entire series, all 3 series which are connected. So I was doing a bit of a research on that, and just refreshing my mind, like refreshing, because I had read and partially listened to audiobooks from the 15 books of the series. So I was just noting down like what I've forgotten most of the stuff. So I'm just
But
like
if you've
trying to
never read
remember.
the Foundation series, but you're just into sci-fi, this is a good, quick, short, standalone book by Isaac Asimov that I think you'll enjoy. When I say this book is short, it is short. It's just a little over 200 pages. It's a very quick read. So again, since you can read it as a standalone book, if you're just looking for maybe a way to kind of check out to see if you enjoy Isaac Asimov's writing style, or you're just looking for a quick sci-fi read, this is a great book to check out. I'll give you a very basic overview of the plot. Like, it's just a short book. I don't really get into too much of the details. But basically, the book starts, we're introduced to this character, the scientist, who is basically forecasting that specific planet is in extreme danger of being destroyed, and basically the planet needs to be warned so the population can evacuate because everybody's life's at risk. We don't know who, but somebody decides this information needs to be kept secret, and basically does a medical procedure to erase this guy's mind. And then very quickly into the story, we're reintroduced to this scientist who now basically has amnesia, has no idea who he is, has no idea that he's a scientist, has no idea about his prediction. And slowly over the course of the book, this character, via some other individuals he meets on the planet, begins to regain his memory, and they begin the journey trying to figure out what's going on with this individual. Why was his memory erased? What was so dangerous about what he knew that it needed to be erased, and who was behind this? Who was behind erasing this memory? So it's kind of like a sci-fi slash mystery, a little bit of an Agatha Christie element in there, mixed in with some classic sci-fi from Isaac Asimov. Very interesting book. Really enjoyed the characters, enjoyed the concept, and I was definitely guessing along the way like who I thought the guilty party was, because this book starts, you don't know who the guilty party is. It's that identity is never revealed, so the entire book you're trying to guess along. Who do you think is involved in this conspiracy? And I was very satisfied how it ended. I'll say I did not guess correctly, but the way it was revealed, I also think it was a logical, and it made sense. A lot of times with a mystery, I hate it when they reveal what the mystery is and it makes no sense what's regarded under the plot. This mystery reveal did make sense in the plot. So very interesting, satisfying reveal. I really enjoyed it a lot. So if you're looking for a quick sci-fi read, I would definitely recommend The Currents of Space by Isaac Asimov. If you're into the Foundation series, you just want to read more set in that galaxy, the books in the Galactic Empire series, I think are something you'll want to check out. They're quick reads, they're very enjoyable, and it gives you a little bit more of taste of that Foundation series that I think so many people love so much, me included. So let me know in the comment section below, what is your favorite book by Isaac Asimov? He's written several classics, let me know, and maybe if there's one I haven't read yet, I'll check it out. If you enjoyed this review, please hit that like button. If you haven't, please subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate support. Thanks for watching. I'll see you the next time.
I remember I listened to the audiobook of this, the audiobook on YouTube itself. There are some really good audio books. The audio quality is pretty good. The Currents of Space is a science fiction novel by American writer Asimov, published in 1952. It's the second by internal series chronology of three books labeled as the Galactic Empire series. But it was the last of the three to be written. Each occurs after humans have settled many worlds in the galaxy, after the second wave of colonization that went through the spacer worlds, and before the era of decline that was setting for the original Foundation series. The plot summary. The story takes place during the process of Trantor's rise from a large regional power to a galaxy-wide empire, unifying millions of worlds. The approximate date is around year 11,000 AD, or originally 34,500 AD, according to Asimov's early 1950s chronology, when the Trantorian Empire encompasses roughly half of the galaxy. The independent planet Sark rules and exploits the planet Florina, which orbits the star located nearest to the Stark sun. Yes, I remember. The protagonist whose mind has been erased, he finds himself on this planet. Sark, I think. Sark derives great wealth from kart, a natural plant fiber which is extraordinarily useful and versatile, but which cannot be grown on Sark or on any other planet other than Florina. The relationship between the two planets is analogous to that of between European imperial powers and their colonies during the 19th century, or the owners and slaves on the cotton plantation of United States South. Native Floril- later Florinians, are forced to work in the Krite fields and are treated as as an inferior race by the residents Sarkites. They also have lighter skin than most humans on Otherworld, but this is no longer viewed as significant. Memories of racism on Earth has been lost. Attempts to break the Sark monopoly and growth of Kurt on worlds other than the Florina other than Florina have so far been unsuccessful because curd plants grown on other planets do not produce curd, only a useful inferior form of cellulose. No one understands why, so Slarkswell depends on its colonial dominance of Florina. The government of Trantor naturally wishes to add the two worlds to its growing empire. The action centers around Rick, a man suffering from gross amnesia and apparent feeble mindlessness. When Rick gradually starts remembering his past, the political crisis involving Slark, Polera, and Trantor ensues. Rick must dodge planetary law enforcement agents and interstellar spies as he attempts to learn his own history and identity, which the government of Sark is trying to prevent. Ultimately, he learns that before losing his memory, he was. I think this has. Whenever I read Wikipedia articles, on books, I always feel that there are kind of minor spoilers in them. His memories, he was a spatio analyst, a specialized astronaut who gathers samples of very sparse interstellar gases in outer space and determines their composition. So, yes, and the essay that I'm trying to make, which I don't have no idea how I'm going to like write the script for. Uh, yeah, I'm just planning to introduce the Robot Empire and Foundation series in it, and just remark on how brilliant it is as an introduction to science fiction reading, like how brilliantly it is written, and it is easy to read as well, and a great introduction to science fiction reading. I'm basically going to start off with when I got introduced to Asimov's work. I got introduced to the foundation around 2018, 2019, and how much it pulled me into like science fiction. And I wanted to read all of his books, and which I did. As in, read half of them and listened to the audiobooks of half of them. Hey, have a look at on the chat, please. Hello, Ruby Brooks 98. What's up? What's happening? This is my first ever stream, or first, even before anything that I've done on YouTube or things is very shabby. Yo, what's up? Finally, you see. Yeah, I was reading and I didn't pay it. Where am I from? I'm from India. I'm from India, and where are you from? What's up? Thank you for like watching this stream, and Soja bhai. Haha. Yo, uh, dude, it's just 10:47, man. Like, अभी let's switch to हिंदी. uh, अभी सोना नहीं है यार, अभी like जब तक ये मैं इसके नोट्स बना रहा हूँ यार. यार तो कोई उम्र नहीं होती किसी चीज़ करने की. मैं नोट्स बना रहा हूँ यार, वीडियो ऐसे लिखने के लिए, साइंस फिक्शन उस पे, सीरीज पे यार. योर नेम इज रूबी ब्रुक्स, और लाइक dude, because I am pretty interested in science fiction, man. I've I've been reading and I've been hooked to science fiction. Science fiction is pretty brilliant, good, man. We don't have that media in India. As dude, Dude, shut up, man. I'm not sending anything. That is so whack, man. Dude, I'm gonna check your thing. Do you make stuff? So now I'm on the final. Now I'm on the final book. I've got to refresh my mind on this. Uh, Pebble in the Sky. First, I'm going to read this because I hardly remember stuff from this book as well. Dude, these are things, man. I'm not much of like a jingoistic person, man. Like, so I have no comments on this. Like, dude, I'm reading like the fall like foundation series here. So why the hell I'm gonna talk about two countries like warring with each other? It's tragic overall, man. Like, you know, why do they always send the poor? Let's listen to some music, bro.
As readers to science fiction?
My own feeling is that science fiction is the relevant literary form for today. Of all the different types of fiction, science fiction is the only one which takes as its basic assumption that societies are going to change and which sets its stories against a fundamentally different society. It's something with great differences in it, whether it's time travel, whether it's overcrowdedness, whether it's space travel, whatever. It's not the present society. And
Well, there was a phrase you used, and I think what was your very first novel. You talked about the awful powers of darkness. Is the whole question of magic and fantasy and mystery and myth what brings people to it as well?
some people have that theory, but I don't.
I see.
Because there is real fantasy now. There are, for instance, the Lord of the Rings, that trilogy. There is Tolkien one. Watership Down right now is an excellent fantasy by a fellow called Adams. People who want that can still find it undiluted. No, I think science fiction refers to different societies which are connected to ours through scientific and technological change. There is always that feeling that we are heading right now rapidly into changing societies. People who are young people today know that when they're middle-aged, life will be nothing like what it is now. And science fiction gives them an opportunity to try on different societies. It's the only thing that's relevant. Anything which deals with the world of today is going to have no meaning to young people of today when, say, 30 years from now.
It's also been quite some time, man. Like, I think I am online for a lot of time, approximately more than an hour. Pebble in the Sky review discussion, 5 minutes, cool.
Hi guys, Dane here, and today I'm going to be doing a quick review of Pebble in the Sky by Isaac Asimov. This is the Sphere Science Fiction edition. As always, I'm going to read the blurb, then I'm going to go through and check out some of my tabs, and then I'll share my overall thoughts and rating at the end. So, when Joseph Schwartz walked past the Institute for Nuclear Research in Chicago, he raised 1 foot in the 20th century.
Oh, wait a second. Also, let's try to chill to some music. Some different kind of music. So, Mod Archive is a pretty cool website, man. Uh, if people know about tracker music, tracker music is also and pretty cool. Since we're watching science fiction, let's check out some cool tracker music as well. View. I really wish I had like some chill games to play, man. And my games are also pretty intense. That I could just play like casual thingies. I'm not much into electronic music. I'm more into guitar, so rock music mostly. Wanted to check out. I used to listen to mods a lot because demo scene tracker music thing is pretty interesting. Face Debris. Excuse me for cutting the music off. Like, well, man, I'd been speaking. I thought I'll have background music throughout, and like I didn't. And excuse me for not having YouTube Premium. Yo, I'm pretty hyped, man. Like, at least a few people watched this stream. I think I'll chill and watch the trailer for Bicentennial Man. Bicentennial Man. Because it's better to stay on topic.
Everybody downstairs. Come on, you guys, I got a surprise for you.
What is it, Daddy?
Wait.
By the year 2005,
Are you one's family?
I guess so.
every home will have an NDR 114.
Andrew, this is very good.
Thank you, sir.
I think it sucks.
Sucks. Chickens do not have lips.
He was designed to serve humans.
Would you please open the window?
One is glad to be of use.
Now jump. No! Out the window.
But there was something different about Andrew.
Two cannibals were eating a clown. One turns to the other and says, "Does this taste funny to you? How do you make a hanky dance? Put a little boogie in it."
What exactly is it doing? He shows a number of characteristics like creativity, curiosity, friendship.
Good night, sweetheart.
Good night, Andrew.
It is a household appliance, and yet you act like it is a man. You're unique. I feel a responsibility to help you become whatever you're able to be.
This Christmas, witness one robot's extraordinary 200-year journey
He learns and grows all the time.
to become
This is an external physical upgrade only.
an ordinary man.
The secret to all this is imperfection. That's what makes us unique.
Like the shape of your head. It's huge.
This looks wonderful. Take the next step. Complete your destiny.
From the director of Mrs. Doubtfire comes an epic story
I saw the inner me.
that will bridge the gap between man and machine.
It works! What the hell's going on?
I am the proud owner of a central nervous system.
You can feel.
Will you perform an experiment just for the sake of science?
All right.
Kiss me. It's everything they say it is.
Bicentennial Man.
Look what I'm doing here. I am trying to make something of myself. I am trying to fulfill my destiny. Does she notice?
Could we talk about this another time?
I think the Bicentennial Man is based off on one of Asimov's I, Robot, the complete robot short stories. I think the one in the beginning itself uh, is loosely, if somebody must have mentioned, based on, I remember very well seeing the trailer. We've got to search, man. It's the one in the beginning itself where the robot is like a nanny to a little child. Novelet. Forward in robot visions. Okay, so it's in robot vision. It's quite similar to the short story in I, Robot as well, or The Complete Robot by Isaac Asimov. I believe in miracles. Da, da, da. It's been more than 1.5 hours, and I'm thinking what kind of things that I could do to make a little bit more chilled, because so yeah, man. If I'm going to make a video essay, so it's going to be, I've got to write down the script as well and test it out a couple of times in front of the camera and ask for feedback from parents and friends or not.
And lowered it in Galactic Era 827. He was still on Earth, but at a time when mankind had colonized the galaxy and the people of the home planet were outcasts, clinging to the soil of a radioactive world. A revolution of Earth's militarists threatened the Galactic Empire with chaos, and strangely, Schwartz found himself the only man who could avert the disaster. So I really like this introduction, but also I like that he quotes this Robert Browning poem that I know because John Lennon used it for the song Grow Old With Me. So chapter 1, Between One Footstep and the Next. 2 minutes before he disappeared forever from the face of the earth he knew, Joseph Schwartz strolled along the pleasant streets of suburban Chicago, quoting Browning to himself. In a sense, this was strange, since Schwartz would scarcely have impressed any casual passerby as the Browning quoting type. He looked exactly what he was, a retired tailor, thoroughly lacking in what the sophisticates of today call a formal education. Yet he had expended much of an inquisitive nature upon random reading. By the sheer force of indiscriminate veracity, he had gleaned a smattering of practically everything, and by means of a trick memory had managed to keep it all straight. For instance, he had read Robert Browning's Rabbi Ben Ezra twice when he was younger, so, of course, knew it by heart. Most of it was obscure to him, but those first 3 lines had become one with the beating of his heart these last few years. He intoned them to himself, deep within the silent fortress of his mind, that very sunny and very bright early summer day of 1949. Grow old along with me, the best is yet to be, the last of life for which the first was made. And so yeah, he gets sort of teleported into the future, essentially. And I like to kind of look at the different ways that Asimov kind of imagines the technology of the future, and we have a great example here. Somewhere in the bowels of the cabinet, perhaps the most universally popular mechanical offspring of human ingenuity, a bartender went into action. A non-human bartender whose electronic soul mixed things not by jiggers but by atom counts, whose ratios were perfect every time, and who could not be matched by all the inspired artistry of anyone merely human. A quote I love here: "I find these Earthmen to be rogues and knaves, every one of them. They are definitely our inferiors intellectually. They lack that spark that has spread humanity throughout the galaxy. They are lazy, superstitious, avaricious, and with no trace of nobility or soul. I defy you, or anyone, to show me an Earthman who can in any way be an equal of any true man, yourself and myself, for instance, and only then will I grant you that he may represent a race who once were our ancestors. But until then, please excuse me from making any such assumption. It just starts to sound like the people who deny evolution. Well, my brother's not a monkey. That's not how evolution works, you idiot." And so he has this kind of amnesia, and so we get here. The days passed, and Schwartz learned a few things. The man was Dr. Sheck, the first human being he knew by name since he had stepped over the rag doll. The girl was his daughter, Paula. Schwartz...
Whoa, man. The currents of space. This as well, I'd listened to the audiobook on YouTube, and I'm trying to recollect the story. Pebble in the Sky was originally written in the summer of 1947 under the title Grow Old With Me. For story background, the book begins with a retired tailor from the mid-20th century who is accidentally pitched forward into the future. By then, Earth has become radioactive and is a low-status part of the vast galactic empire. There's both a mystery and a power struggle and a lot of debate and human choices. The protagonist is a very ordinary man rather than more typical space opera hero. The book takes place in the same universe as the Foundation series. Earth is part of the Empire of Trantor, later setting in Harry Shelton's invention of psychohistory. Yes, so even second Foundation, I think on the Foundation's edge, they're looking for Terra, Earth. So here itself, in this book as well, Earth has become radioactive because of a nuclear explosion that happened. It's kind of a big thing. So nuclear explosion that happens in on Earth, or Earth has become radioactive in low status, like how we discussed in or how I noted down in the stars like dust, where Brian is from another planet and is attending college on Earth, and on Earth we see that Earth is like the use of Geiger counters and radiation detection bands is commonplace, and that humanity on Earth is clustered and focused on population centers. Earth become so. Stars Like Dust is the second book, or actually the first book. The Currents of Space, Stars Like Dust, Pebble in the Sky, is the second book, and the Currents of Space is the first one, where our protagonist Rick and his memory coming back. Pebble in the Sky is the final of the series. Our Foundation and Empire is the one that bridges. Pebble in the Sky is final of the series here, except the bridging Earth, Foundation and Empire, the Empire series. In Pebble in the Sky, the book takes place in the same universe as the Foundation series. Earth is part of the Empire of Trantor, later setting of Harry Sheldon's invention of psychohistory. Asimov returned to the radioactive Earth theme in The Stars Like Dust, The Currents of Space, and The Foundation in Earth. He would explore it more fully in Robots and Empire, really. Pebble in the Sky has been grouped along with Stars Like Dust, The Currents of Space, as the so-called Galactic Empire series. However, these are only loosely connected, occurring between the era of the Spacers and the Foundation series, but not otherwise overlapping in time, location, or theme. In this work, unlike the End of Eternity, the time travel End of Eternity is pretty interesting as well. It's not a part of the Robot Empire and Foundation series. The End of Eternity. In the End of Eternity, there is a premier time travel organization that wants to continue eternity. Like it is in charge, uh, and and they want to make sure that it goes as it is, or in the end, the protagonist has to make a choice to continue eternity and do stuff. In this work, unlike the End of Eternity, the time travel is only one way and uncontrolled. It is now I remember this book. It is unlikely that the technologies are related, since according to Andrew Harlan, the energy requirements for transporting a human with Eternity's technology far exceeded the capabilities of the 20th century Earth. One element of the novel Asimov was particularly fond of was the inclusion of a scene of explosion conducted over the course of the game of chess between two of the characters. By recounting all moves, Asimov reacted against the common tendency of novelistic portrayals of chess games to neglect the action on the board. The game that he chose to present was a victory by Gregory Levenfish over Boris. Ah man, I'm not a chess person. Boris Verlinsky in Moscow in 1924, one which gained the Victor of Brilliancy Prize. While walking down the streets, so he comes into a future and he discovers Earth and the radioactiveness of Earth. It's very interesting, this book as well. While walking down the street in Chicago, Joseph Schwartz, a retired tailor, is the unwitting victim of a nearby nuclear laboratory accident by which he is instantly transported tens of thousands of years into the future, 50,000 years by one character's estimate, a figure later reconned by future Asimov's work as a mistake. He finds himself in a place and he does not recognize, and due to apparent changes in spoken language thus far into the future, he's unable to communicate with anyone. He wanders into a farm and is taken in by a couple that lives there. They mistake him for a mentally deficient person, and they secretly offer him as a subject for an experimental procedure to increase his mental abilities. Yes, this is well. The procedure, which has killed several subjects, works in his case, and he finds that he can quickly learn to speak the current lingua franca. He also slowly realizes that the procedure has given him strong telepathic abilities, including the ability to project his thoughts to the point of killing or injuring a person. The Earth at this time is seen by the rest of the Galactic Empire as a rebellious planet. It has rebelled 3 times in the past, and its inhabitants are widely frowned upon and discriminated against. Earth also has several large radioactive areas, although the cause is never really described. With large uninhabited areas, it is a very poor planet, and anyone who is able to work is legally required to be euthanized. The people of Earth must also be executed when they reach the age of 60, a procedure known as the 60, with very few exceptions, mainly for people who have made significant contributions to society. This is a problem for Schwartz, who is now 62 years old. The Earth is part of the Tantorian Galactic Empire, with a resident Procractor, who lives in a town in the high Himalayas, and a galactic mission garrison, but in practice is ruled by a group of Earth-centered religious fanatics who believe in the ultimate superiority of Earthlings. They have created a newly deadly supervirus that they plan to use to kill or subjugate the rest of the Empire and to avenge themselves for the way their planet has been treated by the galaxy at large. Citizens of the Empire are unaware of Earth's lethal viruses and mistakenly believe it is Earth's radioactive environment that causes the characteristics of syndrome of radiation fever, and the Earthling pose the Empire no threat. Joseph Schwartz, along with Affet Skitz, the scientist who developed the new device that boosted Squitz's mental power, his daughter Paula Skit, and visiting archaeologist Bell Arvarthan are captured by the rebels. But they escape with the help of Schwartz's new mental abilities, and they are narrowly able to stop the plan to release the virus. Schwartz uses his mental abilities to provoke a pilot from the Imperial garrison into bombing the sign where the arsenal of the supervirus. Yes.
Schwartz found that he no longer needed to shave. The hair on his face never grew. It frightened him. Did it ever grow? His strength came back quickly. They were letting him put on clothes and walk about now, and were feeding him something more than mush. Was his trouble amnesia then? Were they treating him for that? Was all this world normal and natural, while the world he thought he remembered was only the fantasy of an amnesiac brain? And they never let him step out of the room, not even into the corridor. Was he a prisoner then? Had he committed a crime? There never can be a man so lost as one who is lost in the vast and intricate corridors of his own lonely mind, where none may reach and none may save. There never was a man so helpless as one who cannot remember. Someone needs some psychologists, and he says, send 2 psychologists. No, actually, ask them to send 4, because then they will at least send 2. And then he develops a sort of 6th sense, so it says, he experimented and found that he knew exactly where any of them were at any time. He could distinguish between them, for the mind touch differed from person to person. Not once had he the nerve to mention it to the others. And there's a great quote here, old men tend to forget what thought was like in their youth. They forget the quickness of the mental jump, the daring of the youthful intuition, the agility of the fresh insight. They become accustomed to the more plodding varieties of reason, and because this is more than made up by the accumulation of experience, old men think themselves wiser than the young. And in this society, people don't live past 60. They have censuses and stuff and basically take you away when you hit 60. Good to make room for the young. Someone bursts into a room and says, "Greetings, Your Excellency." "Greet me no greetings," the High Minister replies impatiently. Great line. And then we get this like racism towards Earth people. "I don't like Earthies," he said. "I never like them. They're the scum of the galaxy. They're diseased, superstitious and lazy. They're degenerate and stupid. But by the stars, most of them know their place." Alright, Mr. Racist, Mr. Space Racist. So yeah, overall, I did enjoy Pebble in the Sky by Isaac Asimov. I don't think it's one of his best, but there's obviously plenty of stuff that I shared with you. I particularly like how it contrasted our society and the way that we live with the futuristic society. And again, it's kind of an entry in the Galactic Empire series, so you can read this in the context of the other books, or you can just pick it up as a standalone as well. Overall, I gave it like a 3.5 out of 5. It was yeah. So there we have it, that's what I made of Pebble in the Sky by Isaac Asimov. As always, don't forget to let me know in the comments if you've read this book, and if so, what you thought of it. Hit that like button if you've enjoyed this video, hit that subscribe button for more, and I will see you soon for another bookish video. Thanks a lot, bye bye.
This was a pretty good way of presenting a review. I like the video. Okie dokie. So in this video itself, we've covered a few books. We've spoken a bit about iRobot, Caves of Steel, Naked Sun, and later on we covered Robots and Empire. We saw the reviews for them, and The Currents of Space, The Stars Like Dust, Pebble in the Sky, and a little bit of the Foundation that I spoke about in the program. And the Foundation is, Asimov's ferocious reading led him to Ed Gibbons' The Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire, the 6-volume history of Rome, which is more than a history, it's a treatise on the development of civilization. And it also helps to define the political system we now call liberalism. Edward Gibbon's negative view of the Middle Ages and his emphasis on reason and civil virtue influenced enlightened thinker who laid down the groundwork for liberal thought. And Asimov's polymath imagination spins the story from Edward Gibbon's history. What if the declining empire was not in the past but in the future? A galactic empire, an empire that can illustrate why old imperial civilizations collapse and new rising empires, and a new rising empire to show how science and reason can build a better civilization. So, yep, man, we've covered some things, and I hope all these notes help me in making the video essay that I'm most or little probably going to be making. I'm thinking of it. So I'm doing my research for my first video essay. The first idea that I've had is that I'll do it on the Robot, the Galactic Empire, and the Foundation series, which is basically my introduction to science fiction. I did not have any particular route. Like, I read the Dune. The first science fiction book that I've ever read was the Dune, and then the Foundation. Then all of this, then most of Isaac Asimov's book, basically all of his Robot, Galactic Empire, and Foundation. And then I jumped on to different. I read some of Ursula K. Le Guin's books, pretty amazing. The Haynes Cycle, and then from Ursula K. Le Guin, I got introduced to Octavia Butler. Somebody recommended Octavia Butler, and I read the Parable series, which was truly brilliant, truly brilliant, beautiful, very tragic, very heartbreaking, lots of tragedies, human tragedies happening, very beautiful, and has a very beautiful message as well. And some other Pattern Master series, other books. So yeah, outside of these, I don't have much experience. Haven't read any books. I've read the Remembrance of Earth series. I've listened to the audiobooks. I've listened to the audiobooks of Remembrance of Earth. That was hard science fiction, and I really liked the hard sci-fi of it. But my main focus on my video essay is going to be Asimov's Robot, the Galactic Empire, and the Foundation series, which is actually a very great introduction to science fiction. It's easy to get into, very kind of understandable language, and like you get introduced to science fiction stuff like robots, like spacers, and I think the hyperdrive thing is a little bit of that as well. Like how they go into the future. In the Foundation, scientists, a colony of scientists, psychohist. Before that, psychohistory, which is the science of predicting the future of societies, not individual futures, but not futures of individuals, but the science of predicting the future of societies. Psychohistory, and then the Foundation, very interesting. So these kind of things you get into, man, and really captivates your mind. Asimov is a polymath. He has written a ton of books, so the way that he writes is also really brilliant. Like you'll get introduced to great writing at the get go.
What's the secret?
uh Yep, man. Now, the next thing is going to be, I'm going to be like just taking a look at the reviews for the Foundation series. I'm going to be making some notes, and then I'm going to be like hitting my head on the wall because on how to write the script for a video essay, because I've never really done it before. This is my first stream, and I haven't done any videos on any platform, no YouTube, no nothing. So I'm going to be practicing that in front of the camera. Let's see how it goes. A little bit of editing and other stuff as well in between. What do we do? Let's put on some chill. I wish, man, I could play real music. I mean, cool music. Da, 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 da. Yeah, so like I think there's a Deep Purple song as well, like based on Asimov's Foundation's Edge, some later Foundation book of the mule thingy. So that's pretty cool. Let's check that out, man, on Wikipedia. The Mule is a song by English hard rock band Deep Purple and was originally released on the 1971 album Fireball. The song became famous for its live drum solo thingy. Yes, I remember. Ian Gillan introduces the Mule, and it's all about Lucifer and some of his friends, most of whom are sitting around here somewhere tonight. So it's not based on. Is the Mule based on the Mule? Science fiction and fantasy necessary. Okay, is the Deep Purple song The Mule? Is the Deep Purple song The Mule inspired by the characters of the same name in the Asimov Foundation series. Is Asimov in Asimov's Foundation series? There's a character called the Mule who manipulates others using his psychic powers, remains outside himself. Is the song based on this character, or are the similarities just coincidence? Answer: Hello Thomas. Yes, the Mule was inspired by Asimov. It's been a while, but I'm sure you've made the right connection. Asimov was a required reading in the 60s. I think the Foundation trilogy is required reading now. Really tremendous. Okay, so we only have one answer, and it says yes because Mr. Asimov was big in the 60s. I think every young adult, like at that age, like was reading Asimov. I think if Ursula K. Le Guin's books were from then they were reading all of this cool stuff as well. Kind of like hippie-ish. Pebble in the Sky, the Foundation. Man, I'm kind of tired. Oh, whoopity whoop. I was thinking of playing Project Zomboid a little bit. Like, I don't know for how much time I survive. I'm like just pretty new to this. Could be a probability or not. Archives. Let's listen to something chill. What do we search for? Rose by Chandra. Ambient. This a very cool playlist on YouTube as well. Ambient breaks, demo scene music. This one. I hope. I don't even know stuff, man. Copyright shit. I'm not much into electronic music, and if it was up to me, I would have been playing some other kind of music. This is pretty cool as well, but I've had some coffee and I was chilling. Oh, that's fine. little bit of like a 2-minute break. I'm gonna switch off face cam. Visuals are pretty dope. Like it has to be because it's demo scene music. Demo scene is like of computer graphics and music of genre. It was I think in the 90s. This one is pretty interesting as well. I know about demo scenes. There were competitions of making very cool graphics and music and have it coded in such a way that it requires least amount of space and KBs and stuff like that. Coders are really super brilliant as well, man. Like coding is such a cool art in itself. when I got into music production, I took a look at tracking as well. So they had this like tracking softwares on which you'd had to enter like stuff in hexadecimal sequence.
With Gemini and Google Meet, AI captures and organizes
I'm gonna
meeting
change
notes.
this. I'm just taking a little break. I'm like getting water and stuff for myself. Was way back, like I think in the 90s and stuff. Let's take a look at Yup. Poem to a Horse by German name, Brausch, winner of the Mecca and Symposium 2002, 64K input composition. Them or die. $64K is 64 KB? I do not know. Yes, seems to be. $32 bits, 64 bits. I don't know what K is. Big school. Yep, 64K byte. One of our browsers best to date, 64K bytes, precise and ran perfectly on an old Athlon. 2400 plus with GeForce 2 GTS. And 64 kilobytes. graphics and animated graphics and sound is pretty solid as well. That's what? Why can't I see stuff, man? 144p. Okie dokie, pipe and smoky. Music is cool. Oh, these are my recommendations. I'm new, man. I haven't watched stuff. Not the shitty TV show. TV show was pretty cool as well, I think. Yup, man. I was thinking like I'll do the rest of the books, or let's listen to the Foundation one, man. It's one of the most interesting things. This guy's a pretty cool creator.
Hey guys, it's Quinn here. If you appreciate my content, please consider hitting the like button. It's really the only way that the YouTube algorithm takes notice of my videos. Thanks guys. One of the key facts about human beings is that each of us are individuals, and yet we live in societies which sometimes act as superorganisms. It is very difficult for one individual to steer the course of the whole species. This is sometimes a good thing. There are moments that the human spirit seems to join together as one, and great things can be accomplished. And this is sometimes also a bad thing. For example, man-led climate change is an issue that scientists have known about for quite some time, but the human entity runs on oil. The actions of a single individual would have little impact to slow the rate of change. The organism moves on its own. Even if everyone watching this video somehow finds a way to never contribute to fossil fuel emissions ever again for the rest of their lives, this would essentially do nothing, because the human entity is far too large. This is much akin to how the individual cells in your body make up you, but the individual cells themselves have no say over your actions. Individuality itself is often heralded as one of the virtues of mankind, but individuality is also the cause of much of the turmoil in human society. Individuality leads to chaos, though many would argue that this is a necessary vice of a free society. Individuality and free expression are part of what makes life worth living. Often, when free expression and individuality are stripped, as in both the modern and historical fascist regimes of Earth, societal well-being in general goes down dramatically. Fascism does not breed progress of any kind. Under these types of structures, the soul of mankind bleeds. The happiest societies in the world emphasize individuality and freedom. Beyond personal individuality, humans also have a tendency to break themselves into groups, sometimes based on traits that members of that group share, sometimes based on geographical association. Different groups of humans often find themselves at odds, competing for resources and power of all forms. With such groupings, prejudices also form, and as these groups persist throughout time, generational prejudices form, and the differences between groups of humans start to be distorted in the eyes of opposing groups. This, of course, leads to many problems in society. If mankind could view itself as a homogeneous group, not divided by arbitrary lines, the things we could accomplish could be great. Isaac Asimov deals with some of these ideas in his Foundation book series, and that is mainly what we are here to talk about today.
Wow, pretty cool introduction, man. Yes, man. Foundation series is uh basically uh like a twist, like a story that he took from uh Edward Gibbon's Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire, and his polymath imagination turned it into like a future galactic empire. And yeah, man, all of these things, man, like that he's talking about, pretty intense, like
Isaac Asimov has long been accepted as one of the greatest science fiction authors of all time. His expansive vision of humanity's future came to life almost 80 years ago with the publication of the first short story in his Foundation series. After it was all done, there were a total of 7 books in the series itself, and the final 2 books deal with the potential ultimate fate of mankind. According to Asimov's work, humankind had the potential to exist sustainably in 3 ways. The first 2 are as follows: through technological development, as was the way of the first Foundation, or through the honing of mentalic abilities, as was the way of the second Foundation. Both these institutions had been created by Harry Seldon.
All right, so this is about the entire Foundation series. And just the Foundation, which was one of his earlier work, Asimov's earlier work, the Foundation in 1951, which was, I think, his second, or yeah, in the year 1950, he wrote the robot short stories, I, Robot. And then in 51, he wrote the Foundation. He wrote The Stars Like Dust as well, which is of the Galactic Empire series. In the Foundation, Harry Sheldon like comes up with or invents psychohistory. Mr. Harry Sheldon, or I don't know, Harry Sheldon comes up with probably it would be Dr. Harry Sheldon, something like that. Harry Sheldon comes up with a psychohistory. It is a science of predicting the future of societies or civilization. He predicts that the galactic empire is going to collapse, and there are going to be, I think, many 10,000 years of chaos, which is going to bring huge suffering upon the humans living in the galactic empire. And he wants to reduce that, and the foundation is about that. Very interesting. Psychohistory itself is such an interesting science.
And given ultimate secret goals. The first foundation resided on the world of Terminus, and the second foundation resided on the world of Trantor, which had once been the center of the first empire. The first foundation was supreme in the realm of physical power, of technology, of war weapons. The second foundation was supreme in the realm of mental power, of the mind, of the ability to control. In any conflict between the two, what would it matter how many ships and weapons the first foundation disposed of, if the second foundation could control the minds of those who control the ships and weapons? The third way that humans could exist sustainably, however, was through humanity's merging as a single entity, as was the way of the people of the conscious planet Gaia, who had hope.
I think I should have watched it in the end because I was going one book by one book to the next. So yes, but this is such a cool video essay by Quinn. I think it's cool. I'll continue watching this essay itself. It's giving me a brief of the entire
That one day
series.
humankind could merge into one female entity, the super being known as Galaxia. They believed that by merging into one mind, with one goal, humanity could most effectively deal with potential outside threats. The Second Galactic Empire, worked out after the fashion of Trantor, will be a paternalistic empire, established by calculation, maintained by calculation, and in perpetual living death by calculation. It will be a dead end. This is the view of Gaia, Travis said. And what does Gaia have to offer as an alternative? Greater Gaia, Galaxia, every inhabited planet as alive as Gaia, every living planet combined into a still greater hyperspatial life, every uninhabited planet participating, every star, every scrap of interstellar gas, perhaps even the great central black hole, a living galaxy, and one that can be made favorable for all life in ways that we yet cannot foresee. A way of life fundamentally different from all that has gone before, and repeating none of the old mistakes. In the Foundation's
Whoa. So yeah, man, I like the idea to write a video essay on the robot Galactic Empire in the Foundation series. It's a pretty cool idea, man. Like, and I'm checking out this guy Cohen, man. He's like,
these ultimately hope
he's a super cool, super brilliant creator. Like, you can already tell, like, he's super dope. Yeah, but I hope this one's not giving out too much because I don't want to give out too much in my things as well. But it's very inspirational, man.
the threads of human fate. This was a responsibility that he did not ask for. It was a decision that was forced upon him. Because he suspected the existence of the Second Foundation and openly questioned Harry Seldon's great plan, he was banished from the First Foundation about 500 years after the fall of the First Empire. He eventually encounters the world of Gaia, and it was after discovering this world that he decides the fate of mankind, choosing Galaxia, the superorganism. Initially, he chose Galaxia because he believed the slow progress of Galaxia's development would give him time to change his mind if he should find that it was not the right path for humanity. It is in the book Foundation and Earth that he accepts that he has truly made the right choice. We Gaia, know you are. That is your worth to us. You have the capacity for making the right decision on incomplete data, and you have made the decision. You chose Gaia. You rejected the anarchy of a galactic empire built on the technology of the first foundation, as well as the anarchy of a galactic empire built on the mentalics of the second foundation. You decided that neither could be long stable. You chose Gaia. Galaxia would eventually encompass the entire Milky Way, uniting all humankind, uniting all life. The Milky Way galaxy had given birth to just a single species with sufficient intelligence to develop a technologically advanced society, but they knew almost nothing of other galaxies. Travis speculated that the Milky Way could be atypical, that other galaxies might possess multiple competing intelligent species. He believed that their preoccupation with each other prevented them from turning their eyes onto other galaxies. But he speculated that in some galaxy, one species may gain dominance, and then they may consider the possibility of invading into other galaxies.
So yeah, man, the foundation. I'm still stuck on the foundation. This one's like fast forwarding to the entire series. Foundation's Edge, and then Foundation in Earth. The foundation is about Harry Sheldon inventing psychohistory and then understanding that the empire is going to collapse and then is going to fall, and then there are going to be 10,000 years of chaos, which is going to bring great suffering. And then he sets, like, his mission is to set the foundation, like colonize a colony of scientists who's going to work on psychohistory and technology, and so that they can reduce the chaos and reduce the suffering. That is the foundation. And in the foundation, the scientists, like, they receive messages, pre-recorded messages from Harry Sheldon, and they're dependent on it, like, to a vast extent. The foundation. The premise of the stories is that in the waning days of the future galactic empire, the mathematician Harry Sheldon devises the theory of psychohistory, a new and effective mathematics of sociology. Using statistical laws of mass action, it can predict the future of large populations. Sheldon foresees the imminent fall of the empire, which encompasses the entire Milky Way and a dark age lasting 30,000. I apologize. It's not 10,000, 30,000 years before the second empire arises. Although the momentum of the empire's fall is too great to stop, Sheldon devises a plan by which the onrushing mass of events must be deflected just a little to eventually limit the interregnum to just 1,000 years. The novels describe some of the dramatic events of those years as they are shaped by the underlying political and social mechanics of Sheldon's plan. Foundation called for to stand trial on Trantor for the allegations of treason. For foreshadowing the decline of the Galactic Empire, Sheldon explains that his science of psychohistory foresees many alternatives, all of which result in the Galactic Empire eventually falling. If humanity follows its current path, the Empire will fall and 3,000 years of turmoil will overcome humanity before a second empire arises. However, an alternative path allows for the intervening years to be only 1,000. If Sheldon is allowed to collect the most intelligent minds and create a compendium of all human knowledge entitled the Encyclopedia Galactica. The board is still wary but allows Sheldon to assemble whomever he needs, provided he and the encyclopedists are exiled to a remote planet, Terminus. Yes, because the leaders of the galaxy, the empires, like, they are also cautious. They think if Sheldon's understanding is leaked to the masses, they may rebel and stuff as well. So it's very secret, and they're sent to exile to a remote planet, Terminus. Sheldon agrees to these terms and secretly establishes a second foundation, of which almost nothing is known, which he says is the opposite end of the galaxy. After 50 years on Terminus, and with Sheldon dead, the inhabitants find themselves in a crisis. With four powerful planets surrounding theirs, the encyclopedists have no defense but their own intelligence. A vault left by Sheldon is due to automatically open, and it reveals a recorded hologram of Sheldon, who informs the encyclopedists that their reasoning for being on Terminus is false. Sheldon did not care whether or not any encyclopedia was created, only that the population be placed on Terminus and the events needed by this calculation set in motion. In reality, the recording discloses Terminus was set up to reduce the Dark Ages based on his calculation. It will develop by facing intermittent and extreme crisis known as Sheldon crisis, which the laws governing psychohistory show will inevitably be overcome simply because human nature will cause events to fall in particular ways which lead to the intended goal. The recording reveals that the present events of the first such crisis reminds them of a second foundation was also formed at the opposite end of the galaxy and then falls silent. So yeah, this is the foundation. The mayor of Terminus City, Salvo Harlett, proposes to play the planets against each other. His plan is a success, and the citizens of Foundation, like Terminus, they're really intelligent and they're very scientific. They have great scientific knowledge, but they do not have the weapons. And there are planets like near them which and so they're also really like the encyclopedists have no defenses, and they're set to create an Encyclopedia Galactica, which because the Empire has fallen, and to contain all human knowledge, they need the Encyclopedia Galactica. They need to compose or draft or make the Encyclopedia Galactica. The mayor of Terminus City, Salvor Hardin, proposes to play the planets against each other. His plan is a success. The Foundation remains untouched, and he becomes its ruler. The minds of the Foundation continue to develop newer and greater technologies, which are most compact and powerful than the Empire's equivalents. Using his scientific advantages, Terminus develops trade routes with nearby planets, eventually taking them over with his technology becomes a coveted commodity. The interplanetary traders become diplomats to other planets. One such trader, Hobo Mallow, becomes powerful enough to challenge and win office of mayor, and by cutting off supplies to nearby region, also succeeds in adding more planet to the Foundation's control. Yeah, this is basically the story of Foundation. That how they overcome these particular planets which are surrounding them, and become traders, and their scientific knowledge is like important commodity. And this guy, Hober Mallow, becomes a powerful. This artwork. No, this is from the. Hobo Mallow becomes powerful enough to challenge and win the office and mayor by cutting on and adding more planets to the Foundation's control. This is the Foundation, and the next is Foundation in Empire. Foundation and Empire, yes. An ambiguous general of the Emperor of the Galaxy perceives the Foundation to be a growing threat and orders an attack on it. Using the Empire's mighty fleet of war vessels, the Emperor, initially supportive, becomes suspicious of his general's long term motive for the attack and recalls the fleet despite being close to victory. In spite of his undoubted inferiority in purely military terms, the Foundation emerges as the victor. Sheldon's hologram reappears in the vault on Terminus and explains to the Foundation that his opening of the vault follows a conflict whose result was inevitable, whatever might have been done. A weak Imperial Navy could not have attacked them, while a strong navy would have shown itself by its success to be a threat to the Emperor and be recalled. Yes. A century later, an unknown outsider, the Mule, this is from the Foundation and Empire, yes, has begun taking over planets at a rapid pace. The Foundation comes to realize too late that the Mule is unforeseen by Sheldon's plan. The Mule is psychic and he's like basically an anomaly. This good, cool artwork of the Mule as well. Oh, excuse me. Yup, especially this one. It's a pretty cool. And this is by the Mule is disguised as Magnifico, Giganticus, as depicted in the 1980 by Michael Whelan. All cool artwork of this is by Michael. Michael Whelan has done, as we heard in the other review. But this one's particularly really cool. Looks like a jester with an instrument. With a futuristic instrument. Mule has begun taking over planets at a rapid pace. The Foundation comes to realize too late that the Mule is unforeseen by Sheldon's plan. Toran and Baita Darrell, accompanied by Abyss Smith, the Foundation's greatest psychologist, and a court jester named Magnifico, who is familiar with the Mule, set out to Trantor to find the Second Foundation, hoping to bring an end to the Mule's reign. Miss studies furiously in the Great Library of Trantor to figure out the Second Foundation's location to seek its help. He's successful and also deduces that the Mule's success stems from him being a mutant who is able to change the emotions of others, a power he used to first instill fear in the inhabitants of his conquered planets, then to make. Is this loud? The Mule's success stems from him being a mutant who is able to change the emotions of others, a power he used to first instill fear in the inhabitants of his conquered planets, then to make his enemies devoutly loyal to him. Miss is murdered by Baita Darrell before he can reveal the location because she realized that Magnifico is the Mule and has been using his gifts to help Miss do the research. So the Mule can subjugate the Second Foundation. The Mule ruefully acknowledges that his feeling for Bata prevented him from tampering with her mind to block just such interference. He leaves Trantor to roll over his conquered planet with his continued search. This is the Foundation. So yeah, and I also have to search that by what time, by what year did Isaac Asimov connect all of his novels. Mm, they're all connected, but by their early place in his published work. So he did it. He did it in between somewhere after writing some novels. He decided to connect them. I think originally he did not like intend to have them connect, or because he wrote many of them in the 50s and then many of them in the 80s. So I personally think that by the 80s he connected all of these books. Because in the 50s he had written in the 50s he'd written his I Robot short stories, Caves of Steel, The Naked Sun, The Currents of Space, The Stars Like Dust, Pebble in the Sky, The Foundation and Empire, Second Foundation. And after the Second Foundation, I think he became connecting uh, his robust Galactic Empire and the Foundation series book. I think he did it for his fans. Pretty cool. I don't like this one. We belong to this. These are all very electronic based, not ambient. Let's watch this. Ghetto Cedars since 1990. Yo, these aren't ambient at all. These are ambient very slow. Okie dokie. So the second foundation is the mule's plan being discovered and stuff. The foundation's edge. believing that the second foundation exists despite the common belief that it has been extinguished, young politician Golan Treves is sent into exile by the mayor of the foundation, Harla Prano, to uncover the second foundation. Treves is a very main character in the end of the book. Like we were watching this Quinn's video. Treves is accompanied by a scholar named Yano Pelorat. The reason for their belief is that despite the unforeseen impact of the mule, the Sheldon clan still appears to be proceeding in accordance with the statements of Sheldon's hologram, suggesting that the second foundation still exists and is secretly intervening to follow the plan. After a few conversations with Pelorat, Weiss comes to believe that the mythical planet called Earth may hold a secret to the location. No such planet exists in the database, yet myths and legends refer to it. Yes, by the beginning of the Galactic Empire series, the Earth is like kind of like a non-important planet because of its radioactiveness, and yeah, it's getting uninhabitable. In the stars like dust, like the Earth has become a battleground for a nuclear war, and the little bit of humanity that is on Earth is clustered and focused in population centers. The use of Geiger counters and radiation detection bands is a commonplace. So Earth is kind of like in a bad situation then. And yes, also in the Robots and Empire and the Currents of Space, mankind traveled thousands of years into the future, and he finds that the Earth is kind of has radioactive zones all over, and that that human beings do not live. That human beings are kind of executed like after they're 60. That's the kind of the governance of the planet, and there are various ideologies. There are groups of human beings who think that they're superior than the spacers, and they're making a virus thing to take them down. So yeah, by now, in many thousands of years, the Earth is forgotten. That a mythical planet called Earth may hold the secret to the location. No such planet exists in any database, yet myths and legends refer to it. Treves believes that the planet is being kept hidden. Unknown to Treves and Pelorat, Brano is tracking their ships so that if they find the second foundation, the first foundation can take action. Stor Gendable, a prominent member of the second foundation, discovers a secret thingy. Okie dokie. Hey. Yo, and while we're talking about Earth, Terra, and the Foundation's Edge, we have the song The Planet Universe, Part 2 by MFX. What software are you using to make these animations? I think they're coding it. This is a part of the demo scene thing. These are two break stuff. Break beat. Yes. Stor Gendable, a prominent member of the second foundation. Alright, we're already on the second foundation. Yeah. Unknown to Treves and Pelorat, Brano is tracking their ships so that if they find the second foundation, the first foundation can take action. Stror Grendible, a prominent member of the second foundation, discovers the simple local on Trantor, who has a very subtle alteration made to his mind, far more delicate than anything the second foundation can do. So the first foundation is very intelligent, like the most intelligent people that Henry Sheldon selected from the Galactic Empire to colonize, to live in a remote planet. And he also set at the other end of the galaxy, the second foundation, who are mentalists, who have the power to like kind of mentally do stuff far more delicate than anything the second foundation can do. He concludes that a greater force of mentalics, those with the ability to read and shape minds of others, must be active in the galaxy. Following the events on Terminus, Grendible tries to follow Trevize, reasoning that by doing so he may find out who has altered the mind of the Trantor native. Using the few scraps of reliable information within the mist, Trevize and Pellerat discover a planet called Gaia, on which every organism and inanimate object of the planet shares a common mind. Branno and Grendible, who have followed Trevize, also reach Gaia. Gaia reveals that it has engineered this situation because it wishes to do what is best for humanity, but cannot be sure what is best. So Gaia is a place where it's a beautiful place. Like everybody is kind of like connected to each other. Like they can all like I think share dreams and stuff. Gaia reveals that it has engineered the situation because it wishes to do what is best for humanity but cannot be sure what is best. Trevise's purpose, faced with the leaders of the first and the second foundation and Gaia, is to be trusted to make the best decision among the three main possibilities for the future of human race. Yes, so Trevize is on his ship and he has to make he's given the choice, and I think his choice is going to be considered the choice. Like that determines the future of like humanity. Like, and there are three players: Gaia, the first foundation, and the second foundation. The first foundation, based on mastery of the physical world and its traditional political organizations, that is the empire. The second foundation's path, based on mentalics and probable rule by an elite using mind control, or Gaia's path of absorption of the entire galaxy into one shared harmonious living entity in which all beings in the galaxy would be a part. After Trevize makes his decision for Gaia's path, the intellect of Gaia adjusts Branno's and Grendible's mind so that each believes he or she has succeeded in a significant task. Branno believes she has negotiated a treaty tying Slahel to the Foundation, and Grendible, now leader of the Second Foundation, believes that the Second Foundation is victorious and should continue as normal. Trevize remains, but is uncertain as to why he is sure that Gaia is the correct outcome for the future. So, this is the Foundation's edge, I think. After the Second Foundation's edge, and all of these were written way like this is 1953 and this is 1982, so much later, and 1986. So as we were watching, where did I close it?
To one female entity, the superbeing known as Galaxia. They believed that by merging into one mind, with one goal, humanity could most effectively deal with potential outside threats. The Second Galactic Empire, worked out after the fashion of Trantor, will be a paternalistic empire, established by calculation, maintained by calculation, and in perpetual living death by calculation. It will be a dead end. This is the view of Gaia, Trevize said. And what does Gaia have to offer as an alternative? Greater Gaia, Galaxia. Every inhabited planet as alive as Gaia. Every living planet combined into a still greater hyperspatial life. Every uninhabited planet participating. Every star, every scrap of interstellar